Welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Nina Adio, a social media marketing expert specializing in the wedding industry. Each week, we'll explore the strategies, stories, and insider tips that help wedding professionals thrive. You'll hear solo episodes filled with actual advice for social media and inspiring conversations with esteemed wedding industry guests. Thank you for tuning in and letting this podcast be a part of your day. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. And guys, it has been, as they say, a hot minute since we've done a solo episode. You and me sit and talk about some social media. It's also been a hot minute since we've showed, right, the mugs. I am downsizing the mugs, so you're going to see some empty spaces here as I swap some out and some others in. So that's the non-social media news happening here. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that. I've had a lot of fun cross-posting to YouTube for the podcast. What I've actually really enjoyed is doing YouTube shorts. So if you're not familiar with YouTube shorts, they are essentially YouTube's answer to Instagram Reels, TikTok, etc. It's their vertical video content. The way a lot of YouTube creators will use them is to entice people to check out their long form videos. So I post a preview of the podcast. I will let people know they can hear the full episode over on my channel. So things like that. Though you of course could use a YouTube channel just to do a YouTube shorts strategy, or perhaps if you're a videographer or venue, you have 5 full-length kind of videos there, and then use shorts to get additional views with perhaps less of the long form effort. But that's not the topic today. That's just a side note. The topic today was inspired by one of my own Instagram posts, so I will be referencing it as we chat today. And the post, I did it July 3rd. It's probably going to be months later when now that we're talking about it, but I really loved this concept, and it was advice I'd give your wedding brand if I wasn't afraid of hurting your feelings, right? So this is the stuff I would tell you, even though I hate to tell you it. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. Just kidding. Sometimes I do. It depends on whose parade, okay? It depends on whose parade. But no, I don't like coming around and just telling people what's not working, right? As a matter of fact, if I do an Instagram audit for you, what I like to pull out first is what is working, so we can start with your strengths. And this is something I see people doing, and it can work. But I find in the wedding industry, it is not enough. So the first thing I would tell you, if I was not afraid of hurting your feelings, is that just video is not a wedding industry Instagram strategy. Specifically, I'm talking about for local businesses, right? If you're a wedding magazine, maybe that will work great, or a wedding influencer, or of course a content creator, videographer. If your service is video, I'm not including you, right? But if you're a venue, and this is I find a lot for my venues. I work with venues, wedding planners, elopements, etc. So these are my clients, and just video is not enough when we dive into the analytics, all right? So when I'm talking about analytics, I'm talking about what I see as a whole across dozens of accounts through dozens of months, really. And video alone isn't enough to get people to the website. Video alone may stop the scroll to go to your profile, right? But then if you're only doing video, you're only filling them with more viral consumption type of videos that's going to keep them on the feed. We want to get them to your website. The goal is to get them to your website. And what I find through the data is that video
specifically on Instagram, Reels bring in new people to your profile, but it's the photos and the connection that helps bring people to your website. We have to do both. One of my clients, we were really going strong on video content, and then we went to the analytics and I saw, and it's very surprising. I would not have expected to see this with the amount of reels we were doing, right? We're doing both photos and reels, but the photos were getting more saves and shares than the reels were. And that's why I never tell a client that when I'm creating a proposal, I do not say you're going to get 4 carousels a month and 4 reels a month. I'd like to let the analytics show us what's working best before I make that commitment. I think it's a disservice to somebody to say we're only going to do video. And I mentioned raining on parades, and this happened because, I took more note of it because I had referred somebody to some of my venues because I thought they were a great content creator. And then they started pitching my venues to do social media. Luckily, my venues are very happy with me and they did not take the pitch. But I'm looking at the material they're doing for the clients they did get, and it's just video. Why? Because they want to promote their own service, which is vertical video, and it's happening at a disservice to the client because just video doesn't capture everybody. And when you're putting the client first, you want to capture everybody. And so you want a mix of both. So if you are just doing video, I think that is a mistake that you are making. Mistake number 2 is if you are relying on collaborations as your strategy. The collaborator feature on Instagram feels like something that was made for us in the wedding industry. Sometimes I feel like I should put this microphone higher because it looks cool to have it. Sorry, if you're not on YouTube, you're like, what did she just do? She just stopped talking and moved to this microphone. This is the No Frills podcast of the wedding industry, guys. This is what I do here. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. As much as I want it to, it's not happening. Nope. Okay. So if you are just relying on collaborations, it is doing you a disservice. Now, the collaborator feature on Instagram feels like it was made for us in the wedding industry. But at first, when they came out, it was kind of like I was going hunky-dory, accepting all of them for my clients because I thought it was a great way to pay it forward with vendors. But eventually, this became a disservice to the client. And if your social media strategy is just accepting collaborations, it's going to do you a disservice. Why? Because they favor the author as a venue. Right? For my venue clients, we get collaboration requests a lot. Planners too, but venues are getting the most. And I'll give an example. A photographer posts a wedding day. They invite the venue as a collaborator, but 6 of the 7 photos are taken at a totally different location. That we can't have go onto the venue's feed, right? It doesn't serve the venue. Or somebody invites a planner to collaborate in a post, but the post is just talking about the floral arrangements because it was posted by the florist. That may not necessarily help your feed. So it's okay to accept a tag, but not accept every collaboration. A collaboration means the messaging is going to your audience too. And so you want to make sure that the post that is going to your audience sells your service or sells something adjacent, right? If you want to help sell what the vendor is doing and then accept it, but it may not always be the case. So very often I'll see venues whose entire strategies are just collaborator posts. But what happens is when a couple clicks on the post and want to learn about the venue, they're learning about the photography package or the DJ package. If you want people to be learning about your venue or your brand, then you're going to need your content. Though I will say that does not mean I don't invite venues to collaborate, right? When it makes sense, when I'm doing a wedding day recap for a planner or a photographer and it's showcasing the venue, I will definitely invite them to collaborate. And it does help both of us. It helps the photographer or planner get on their feed, and it helps the venue show some really nice photos of their property. So if you're going to do a collaborator post, make sure it makes sense. Otherwise, it's just going to get ignored, and it is not something that I would consider its own strategy. And I want to be clear about the collaborator thing. It's not an ego thing, right? So if a content creator sends a great video at the venue that day, we definitely will accept it. But if a content creator posts a video and it's all at the getting ready location, then I don't think a venue should accept it. So I do think you should accept things that showcase your venue in a really good light. I think it's a great way to pay it forward to the vendors that you work with. And if you're a social media manager, I don't think you should gatekeep it, right? I think the criteria should be, does this help sell the business I'm representing? If it does, then I think you should accept it. If it doesn't, then I think you have to do what's best for your client. Because I will see instances where if, for example, the content creator who's only doing videos, if another content creator goes to that venue, they won't accept the collaboration because they don't want their audience to know any other content creators exist. I understand that house photographers and house videographers and house content creators want to be the only one, but the venue is a business too, right? And so if the venue is your client, you have to do what's best for your client. So whenever I view a collaborator post, it's not about control or power of who we're letting on the feed. It's just about the bottom line of what's working for the account that you're representing. Because I speak to you guys really candidly here about stuff like that bothers me, and I think for any wedding brand, right? If I were to find out that their social media manager was only allowing one vendor to appear on their feed, I would think that was a disservice unless, right? Here's the big unless that was the only vendor you're allowed to work with there. If you're only allowed to work with one caterer there and one photographer there and one videographer there, then I understand that should be the only one you're showing. But if you are allowed to work with others, then I really don't think that you should gatekeep it. So hearing that information and starting to notice that trend for some places was something where it's like, you know what? If I'm giving the harsh social media advice, or I'm not afraid to hurt your feelings, I'm going to include that. Okay. I'm going to include it. So that is my disclaimer there. My next piece of advice, if I wasn't afraid of hurting your feelings, is don't get lazy with your captions. Okay. Because if you spent all this time on the post and then you get lazy with the caption, it's like, why did we even bother? With the tools of ChatGPT even, there is no excuse. I saw the other day a caption that was just Lindsay and Sam. That was the caption. And let's just, what if we did Lindsay and Sam and then said the venue, right? Lindsay and Sam's Detroit wedding day at the Whiskey Factory. Boom. That's already more SEO friendly, right? Especially because There's been a lot of buzz that Instagram is now something that will come up on Google. Instagram has its own SEO that helps you come up on Explore and in people's feeds. So you don't want to be ignoring SEO, and you want to get that into your captions as much as possible. So kind of have the bare minimum that you will insert. You want to kind of mention your service name, meaning do you do planning, photography, wedding photography, live painting, whatever it is. And you want to mention the location, whether it's the venue name, the area you serve. You want to get those search terms in as much as possible, as organically as possible. Otherwise, you really are just relying on your audience seeing it. And not everybody sees every post. Not everybody's on all day. Not everybody stops at every post you do. So that's why you want to set up each post with as much organic traction as possible. I kind of want to recap what we covered here. So first, I don't feel you should only be posting video. And to reiterate on that, I don't feel you should only be posting photo too. You really need to do both. As I said, I find that reels reel them in, and that the photos help convert. So you want to do a mix of both. Secondly, I shared that just doing collaborations is not a strategy, because collaborator posts are made to favor the author who made them, and you want to make sure you get posts that have your messaging in them. And third, don't get lazy on your captions. Look, once upon a time, 10 plus years ago, I was able to just bookmark the love quotes tab on Goodreads and copy and paste all those to be captions. This is not that time anymore. You want to get as many SEO relevant phrases, terms, storytelling as you can in your captions as possible. So that's it. That's my harsh social media advice for you guys. If you want to learn how I use AI to help get social media content, those captions that I mentioned that are SEO rich, I have my ChatGPT for wedding marketing course, and I have a code in the show notes for you guys, so you can click it there and you will get a savings on that. We also have the resources library. If you go to idoweddingmarketing.com and tap the resources tab, that is where I keep all the savings from every guest on this podcast. So you will get savings from Aisle Planner, Sarah Dunn, Rock Paper Coin. There are a lot of options here. So before you invest in your next CRM or stock photo site or course, make sure you check out our resources library beforehand so you don't miss out on the deals that our listeners get. Thank you for being here. It's so nice to have another solo episode with you guys. We have had so many interviews, and there are so many more that I have scheduled after this. So we've got a lot of good stuff coming, and I thank you for being along on the journey, and I will see you on next week's episode. Bye-bye.